Welcome everyone, Tactical H here. Today we have an extremely close battle sent in by the Phoenix King featuring the Wood Elves versus Dark Elves. For the Phoenix King here, he is playing as the Tree Huggers, a bunch of Dryads in the front line. At the back, 3 War Dancers supported by 3 Glade Guards with Starfire Shafts. Their armor-piercing missiles are very effective against dragons and cold ones alike. Further back, the mobility that are protecting the missile backline. 2 Wild Riders with shields, a single Glade Riders with spears, and also a Great Stag Knight. Leading the army, we have a Spellweaver of Life coming in with Flesh to Stone, Loex Blessing, and also Earth Blood. On the other side of the battlefield, Sailor Nature leading the Dark Elf army. A bunch of Dread Spears flanking the Bleak Swords. At the back there, the Missile Corps composed of 2 Dark Shards with shields to block off any Wood Elf missiles, and then a single Black Corsairs for more skirmishing plus a bit of melee staying power. In the skies, a couple Harpies to disrupt the Wood Elf missiles, and on the flanks, 4 heavy cavalry. Koa Knights, 2 of them on each flank, providing some solid heavy armor, anti-large armor-piercing fighting power. Leading the army, we have a Sorceress of Death supporting the powerful character Malus Darkblade. And that's it for the army builds. Now let's get the battle started. At the start of battle, Phoenix King was trying to shift his army towards the left of the map just so his Starfire Shafts would not be blocked by the tree line, but unfortunately for him, there's a lot of trees in the middle of the map, so unfortunately a lot of the Starfire Shafts will still be hindered by the vegetation. However, the Wood Elves, Light Infantry, War Dancers, and Dryads should be able to beat up the Dark Elf front line just fine with their anti-infantry bonus or just simply great offensive stats for the Dryad. The main concern for the Wood Elves are the Koa Knights at the back with their heavy armor and anti-large bonus. The Wood Elf cavalry can't really trade well against them, with the Wild Riders lacking the armor piercing to punch through the Cold One Knight's defenses, though they can do some devastating charge damage, deleting this poor Harpy unit who try to silence the Starfire Shafts. The better counter to the Koa Knights would be the Great Stag Knights, who have great armor piercing, lowering their antlers, delivering an impactful charge. The problem is that they're quite squishy, so here comes a Flesh to Stone upgraded version giving them additional 60% of physical resistance. This reduces incoming physical damage by 80%, stabilizing the Stag Knight's HP losses. However, that resistance does not apply to spell damage, so a Fate of Buna would be bypassing the Stag Knight's protection, dealing devastating damage to the unit. Wild Riders, after dealing with the Harpies, are now moving into position for a rear charge against the Koa Knights. With the support of the Starfire Shaft, they should be able to work down these Koa Knights with the charge bonus adding to their damage. However, on the right flank, Glade Guards and Dryads trying to push the Dark Shards are stopped by the double Koa Knights over here. With no support, the Dryads are stuck against a tanky opponent. While at the back, the Glade Guards with Starfire Shafts are shut down by Harpies due to the lack of cavalry support on this flank, while the Spellweaver of Life has been drained away quite a bit by the Spirit Leech Kiting, allowing the Sorceress of Death to accrue some good value. Wild Riders charging into the Black Corsairs doing some nice damage, while the rest of the Wood Elf front line are making good progress, beating up all these Bleak Swords here, the War Dancers getting onto the Dark Shards. However, these War Dancers are trying to push the Dark Shards over here, but then if the Koa Knights are counter-charging them, they will suffer massive damage, especially due to their lack of armor piercing and armor themselves. Now over here, the Koa Knights, despite breaching the defenses of the Great Stag Knights, they got chased down by the remaining Wild Riders who are hunting them down from behind, and the Wood Elves managed to secure this one unit of Starfire Shafts who will be turning their sights onto Malus Darkblade. Malus is basically expected to heal Cap, so the archers are just trying to work down his HP as fast as possible to force out the Zarkan transformation. The Wild Riders will be pulling back into the forest trying to regroup with the Great Stag Knights. Fortunately for Phoenix King, despite the Fate of Buna doing a lot of HP damage, it didn't kill too many models of the unit. If there's enough healing, the Stag Knights can recover quite a bit of fighting power. At this point, the Wood Elves are not committing into the frontline fight, instead leaving the infantry to fend for themselves, and the cavalry will be pulling back into the forest, regrouping and receiving some blob heals. This might be a mistake as the Wood Elf infantry without cavalry support are not doing well. Koa Knights approaching from the far side, Harpies hunting down the Starfire Shafts with the help of Malus Darkblade. Without the cavalry's protection, the missile infantry are in great danger. Despite the Dryad's best effort to contain the Black Corsairs, Malus is gunning for these squishy Wood Elf infantry. Also, there are some Koa Knights who have secured the Dark Shards at the back. now running straight into the Dryads, and with their armor piercing, the Dryads' 60 armor would not be doing much to protect themselves. Some Dryads and War Dancers are trying to move in and help, but they're being harassed by some tattered Koan Knights. The whole time the Calf Blob is just sitting in the forest waiting for more heals. Fortunately for him, there are some Glade Gods who have returned from routing, now targeting the Koan Knight. They do have fire while moving, so they can do some shooting as they scoot forward. However, the rest of these Wood Elf infantry will be psycho-charged to death by the overwhelming force of Koan Knights here, as most of the Wood Elf mobility are still hiding back in the forest. Finally, some Wild Riders decide to move out to save the Glade Gods with Starfire Shafts, but it might just be too late. Most of the Wood Elf infantry are in shambles because of the Koan Knights charging. The Harpies are hunting down one of the remaining Starfire Shafts. The Spellweaver tries to dive down and help, but more Spirit Leech coming in to drain away more of her health. Now, with the Koan Knights surging forward, the Wood Elves decided not to engage these elite Dark Elf cavalry, dropping more heals onto the Calf Blob while pulling them out of the engagement. So this leaves the one remaining unit of Starfire Shafts alone against the charge of the Koan Knights, as the Wood Elf cavalry are committed to running away, even having Loek's blessing on them, boosting their speed and making them unspottable, avoiding enemy detection. Now over here, one Koan Knight is being peeled off to chase after the Glade Gods with Starfire Shafts, Sailor Nature trying really hard to make sure the Wood Elf missiles are not coming back, but at what cost? The Koan Knights are now isolated and are easy pickings for the Phoenix King's cavalry. The Deer Cavalry, who simply has more speed than the Raptors, are now catching up with the Koan Knights. The Wood Elf cavalry with their Woodsman trait does not get any debuffs or obstruction fighting in forest area, allowing them to fight in full power. In contrast, the Koan Knight stats are debuffed by the forest terrain and will be suffering heavily at this trade. Now, Wild Rider is going after the other Koan Knights as they are charging straight into the Wild Riders with the protection of Flesh to Stone. However, a Fate of Yuna deleting this one unit of Wild Riders, so they won't be staying in the fight for long. Still, this one unit of Koan Knight will be eliminated as they fail to do much damage against the Wild Riders with insane protection from all those physical resistance. Another Spirit Leech going on to Spellweaver of Life. Now she decides to dive the Sorceress of Death. Perhaps with the help of the Wild Riders they shall succeed, and these Wild Riders have been doing a lot of work over the battle. Fighting back Harpies, Koan Knights, and perhaps now a Sorceress will be added to the kill count as well. Another Earthblood goes down onto the Spellweaver here, topping up the HP of both the Grey Stag Knights and the Dryads as well, while the Wild Riders are doing good work on the Sorceress. We'll be staying in fast forward here as Malus Darkblade is slowly being worked down and he decides to transform into Zarkan, immediately activating his ability to do more damage to surrounding units. Somehow the Sorceress regrouped and dropped in one last Spirit Leech on the Spellweaver. So Wood Elves decides to regroup all their mobile units and get another group heal. Some Tattered Dryads will also be cleaning up the last of the Dread Spears. Now, Zarkan is surrounded by Great Stag Knights. He is taking quite a bit of damage, but a Bloodstorm providing additional damage resistance helps him to hold the line, and also Reaper of Souls draining the HP of surrounding Wood Elf units, completely eliminating them from battle, while he himself is getting additional heals. These Wild Riders have gotten a lot of work done. 200 kills, 2,300 gold worth of damage value. The burden to win this game for the Wood Elves rests upon their shoulders, and they will have to grind through all of Zarkan's health, including his healing cap. The rest of the Dark Elf forces are all gone, so it is pretty much Zarkan carrying this entire game on his back. The Spellweaver of Life is psycho-charging this Dark Elf Lord, hoping to do more damage, and indeed she does, getting a hit on Zarkan, but she needs to get out of there ASAP before Zarkan lands another hit on her. She is so weak right now, even a couple hits would finish her. Now, there are some Glade Gods with Starfire Shafts coming back, trying to get hold of Malus Darkblade, or I mean Zarkan. However, with line of sight shenanigans again, they are getting way too close and are still not shooting because they don't have a clear shot onto the Dark Elf Lord. And because they are so close to Zarkan, they're actually subjected to his fear effect, further lowering their already wavering leadership. And at this point, they still can't fire a single arrow onto Zarkan, so the Wild Riders are pulling out, hoping to give them a better line of sight. But instead, the Glade Gods refuses to shoot, and now they're exposed to an imminent danger. Somehow, they walked even closer to Zarkan, and Zarkan will be single blast with the Bloodstorm. All these Wood Elf infantry are running for their lives. The Wild Riders right now really need to carry the entire game on their backs, especially now that the Spellweaver, getting stuck in melee a little too long, got snuffed out by Zarkan. Still, these Wild Riders have been getting shit done the whole game, getting almost 3,000 gold worth of damage value. They have 3 chevrons now. Perhaps these upgraded leadership might be able to help them stay in the game. We'll be putting into a bit of fast forward here as Zarkan's health is getting lower and lower. However, so is the leadership of the Wild Riders. One annoying thing about Zarkan is that he is unbreakable, so that means if you want to win against him, you have to kill off every single bit of his HP. The Wild Riders getting Zarkan almost there at 99 HP, but unfortunately their leadership is just not holding, and Zarkan will be taking this victory by a hair. GG well played to both Phoenix King and Salinator. Now to quickly wrap up today's battle, we have the War Dancers here not doing the most value, one of them covering their own cost, but the other not so much, as they were either trading against cheap infantry chaff or the heavily armored cavalry of the Dark Elves. Glade Gods though did a lot better. Two of them recovered their costs and some more, the other one not so much, as they were hit by the Harpies early on. Dryads got some good trade against the Bleak Swords and Dread Spears, providing some nice infantry support for the Wood Elves, but in the end, the carrier was really the Great Stag Knights and one of the Wild Riders. Great Stag Knights with the armor piercing and physical resistance was able to do some nice damage against the Koan Knights. Yes, they got hit by a Fate of Buna, but the healing available to the Wood Elves allowed them to sustain their leadership even late into the game. Did some nice damage before being broken off. While the Wild Riders here, 3000 gold worth of damage value, definitely earned back their cost and some more, almost 3 times their cost actually. Getting a lot of kills as well, as the Flesh to Stone physical resistance buff allowed them to tank a lot of incoming damage from the Koan Knights, while they themselves dish out some massive pain in return. The other one, unfortunately being hit by another Fate of Buna, got routed early and unable to recover all of its value. Glade Riders unable to carry their own, being a rather cheap cavalry, and the Spellweaver mostly there for the healing. However, if the Spellweaver didn't get killed in the end, perhaps the Wild Riders have enough leadership to grind down Zarkan, but getting caught right there, and then having their Lord slain really cost Wood Elves the game here. Although Psycho Charging in the late game is still a necessary risk to take, as you want to burst down the enemy Lord as soon as possible. For the Dark Elf army, Malus really carrying his own weight as usual, while the Sorcerers of Dark Magic 2500 gold worth of damage value from the Fate of Bunas and Spirit Leech, the Death Magic is just such a potent lore of magic. The Koan Knights though not doing that well actually, only one of them was able to recover their cost, the other not so much, as they were not trading great against the Great Stag Knights, while the Wild Riders getting the charge onto the Koan Knights successfully burst them down. The Black Ark Corsairs recovered their own cost with their missiles and melee attack, and then the Dark Shards getting some nice value overall as well. Harpies this one shut down quite a few of the Glade Gods units, these ones not so much being charged by the Wild Riders early on. While the Bleak Swords Dread Spears as usual, they're just there to provide more bodies on the field, giving the rest of the Dark Elf army more time to kill off the Wood Elves, especially with the Sorcerers carrying this game. And yeah, that's it for today's battle. I hope viewers you enjoy it, and if you want to see more Total War Warhammer content, be sure to hit the subscribe button and get notified for future video uploads. That's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.